WWF Smackdown 2 Know Your Role, released in 2000 for the PlayStation and the final game in the series to grace the console before making the jump to PlayStation 2 the following year. For all intents and purposes, Smackdown 2 retains the quick-paced arcade-style gameplay of its predecessor. You still had that straightforward control scheme that made it easy to pull off whatever move you decided to pull out of your repertoire. You still filled up the Smackdown meter to store finishers and execute them at the right times in order to win via pinfall, submission, or even knockout. And there's a bevy of match types, which we'll get to later. And at first glance, the game doesn't feel all that different from its predecessor, so if you've played Smackdown 1 for long enough, you could jump into this with relative ease because it's pretty much the same game. A game that places more emphasis on speed and arcade-style execution rather than deep and intricate realistic gameplay. Smackdown 2 has a fairly straightforward control setup, comprising a strike button, grapple button, run button, and other buttons that escape me at the moment. Pulling off moves is simple enough. A button and a direction is usually all it takes, and when it comes to performing your superstar's signature move, you just fill the Smackdown meter, get a little dot, press the L1 trigger in the right position, and you'll perform your finisher that will more often than not end the match with a KO. Like I said, it's simple, fairly straightforward, and responsive for the most part, and it helps to maintain the fast pace of Smackdown 2, which is something I could appreciate. The AI isn't the greatest at times, and the collision is uncommonly spotty at times, but for the most part, the core gameplay guts are functional and fun. What makes Smackdown 2 a step above Smackdown 1 mostly relates to the additional content, which comprises an expanded roster of wrestlers, several new match types, a retooled season mode, the ability to defend championships and shuffle potential contenders outside the season mode, and a much improved Create a Wrestler feature with more customizable options among other things. Smackdown 2 gives you over 45 plus WWF superstars of the time, a who's who of talent for its day. From your mainstays of The Rock, Undertaker, or Michael Cole, refugees from rival promotions such as the Dudleys, Taz, or Chris Ben, or long-forgotten Attitude-era caricatures such as the Mean Street Posse, or Kai and Tai, or Hall of Famers Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe. Hell, you even have 3 flavors of Mick Foley, none of which include Dude Love What the Fuck. To go along with the sizable roster is a sizable number of match types. You have your usual fare such as singles, tag team, 3-ways, 4-ways, handicap matches, and battle royals, but you also have gimmicks like steel cage matches, ladder matches, hardcore matches, casket matches, backstage assaults. Sorry, poor choice of words, backstage brawls, and also Hell in a Cell. The first time the demonic structure graced a WWF video game, though don't get too excited, here it's only a steel cage with a roof on top. Still, it's the thought that counts, I suppose. But the point is there's more stuff. The season mode is a little more involved with more shows, more random encounters, and cutscenes playing throughout, and these progress bar things during simulating matches that I never got. See, the idea is for you to get excited over which energy meter will drain first to determine a winner, and that's the quick skip option of the match. The option you take if you want to skip the match, you press skip and you get a result automatically, but here you're getting this. And it's always baffled me for this year's why they go with this, because if I wanted to see a struggle between 2 wrestlers I have no control over, I'd simply watch the match play out on screen, instead of doing this which meter whatever thing. This also applies to simulated matches in your Create a Pay-Per-View mode, a sort of quick mode where you can book your own pay-per-view event, which means nothing, but it's fun for a lark, I suppose. Also fun for a lark, but also completely pointless, is the Create-a-Ton feature, which isn't all that great to be honest, but hey, it's something, and a Create a Manager mode, which you just pick a manager and to manage people and stuff. Create a Wrestler is way better though. Better customization, more choices to pick and unlock, a generally more robust wrestler creation system than what you had in Smackdown 1. Unfortunately, what isn't better is the menus that you have to navigate, where you scroll up and down to have one item on screen, and it's just, why? Not all screens are like this, but for the most part, nah. No. This is, no. For the most part, there's very little difference in regards to the visuals of Know Your Role in comparison to its predecessor. Outside of the various menus and intermissions, when it comes to the in-game product, it's practically the same game visually. The in-game visuals generally come across as a little rough looking in regards to the arena, and especially the various superstar models whose textures seem particularly grainy, though in fairness it's slightly cleaner than in the first game. Once again, entrances comprise wrestlers walking in front of their entrance video, which might be perceived as lame for some. Also, much like the previous game, Smackdown 2 has no in-game commentary, opting for some rather generic rock-sounding tunes to fill the audio void. In fairness, they did make the effort in creating some new generic tunes instead of recycling the previous lot, but that's about it. Sound effects are just there, nothing amazing, nothing noteworthy. While Smackdown was a drastic step above the prior WWF games from Acclaim, Smackdown 2 Know Your Role feels more like an expansion pack of sorts, taking the base gameplay and infusing it with more stuff. More superstars to play with, more match types to compete in, a more robust and functional creator-wrestler feature, and a season mode that's honestly even more of a chore to play through than the first time around. Also, the load times are kind of rubbish, just tossing that out there. But generally, more stuff than the first game makes Know Your Role the more enticing and complete game on PS1. It's a fun game to play, a solid package overall, and while it doesn't compare to the Aki wrestling offerings on Nintendo 64, Smackdown 2 is still pretty solid in its own right, and is perhaps one of the better wrestling titles to grace the PlayStation.